Right. Today we are having Sivaneswaran. Okay. Siva is actually the lead trainer for defensive driving. So we're going to have discussion about safety. We're going to cover safety on the road, safety at the workplace, okay, and safety everything. Okay. So Siva, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, Ravin. Thank you so much for having me here. Basically, about myself, I was born and raised in Kuala Lumpur. And when we are talking about myself, mostly everything or most part of it will be related to driving, because from an early age, I used to be very intrigued by how these motor vehicles operate, cars, drivings and all. And even in high school, I was not the academic type. We will always be having this discussion about, how you ride motorcycles, how you ride cars, etc., and so on. And because of that, most of the jobs that I've done in my life, most of them I've done. I used to be a jack of all trades, but most of the jobs, the job description will definitely have something to do with driving.
Okay.
I came to a point in life where my mother was so disheartened. She said, Siva, you don't have a future. And I got very angry and I said, Ma, please don't look down on driving. Driving is a noble job. Then as I was doing that, I got in touch with an organization where I was a driver, a personal driver for a CEO. Now that's where things started to change. When I went there, I thought I knew everything there is to know about driving. I was a self-proclaimed professional because I had experience driving all sorts of vehicles, being in different conditions, talking to people. And that place, the company paid for my car, they paid for fuel, and believe it or not, they even paid for speeding tickets.
Okay.
Now that was a safety culture issue, which we'll get into detail later. Yeah. So when I thought I knew everything there is to know, I was sitting one day waiting for this my principal, and while I was scanning through the newspapers, I saw defensive driving course, and I said, hey, I thought I knew everything there is to know, but there's a course about driving. Now I have to attend and find out what it is. Then I went for the 2 days course. Of course, the company paid and they approved for the training and all. After the 2-day training, before going in, my ego was very high,
You know everything.
I know everything. When I came back from the training, I was very humbled. I learned 2 most important things that day in those couple of days. One, experience does not equal to competency. One could be driving for many years and they could be dangerous on the road, compared to somebody who's been driving for just for 1 or 2 years. They could even be safer on the road. Then second, I learned that most of the times I was able to avoid potential incidents on the road. It was not due to my skill. It was due to luck. I also learned that driving, we are not supposed to depend on luck. Everything should be conscious. And that's when while I was there, I came through another advertisement because I used to love reading. Somebody was looking for an assistant in a defensive driving training. I said, hey, it sounds like job is especially for me, So I went there, and that is how about 15 years ago I got in touch with an organization. They were doing defensive driving road safety trainings for oil and gas mainly. So I got myself as an assistant, and from there I knew there and then this.
When it comes to training employee in safety, how do you go about it? I think what type of element you consider essential to have a knockout type of training?
Yeah. Now, most of the organizations, they do ask me, when we go for presentations and so on, they ask me, Siva, how would you guarantee that after the training that this place will become safe? Now, there's no objective answer to that, because this is very subjective, depending on the culture of the organization, depending on the workplace, traveling to and fro. There are a lot of elements involved. But basically, when it comes to safety, what we would usually talk to them is, first of all, the management leadership and employee involvement. This involves a lot of communication between the employees and the employer. Most of the organizations, I'm saying most in air quotes, they expect a training provider to just go there, conduct 1 or 2 days training and expect everything to be okay. We want the organization to be safe. Whereas in reality, it doesn't work like that. Overall, apart from that, we also need to focus on the workplace safety analysis. Safety analysis means we actually go there, observe, do an audit, and say how do we eliminate dangers in particular workplace. It could be as simple as a flow of traffic. It could be just walking up the steps and then we notice something, trip hazards, and all these kind of places. Then after that, how do we prevent and control? So first of all, we understand their communication level, then we do an analysis, and then we see how do we prevent and control. Most probably, let's say, if they have some merging traffic, for an example. Most of the places I've noticed that there could be one road on the right side merging into the main road within the compound, where I would expect to see a convex mirror. Rather than slowly coming out and expecting to see a vehicle, a convex mirror would be very helpful for me to identify a hidden hazard. Interestingly, we noticed that when I was conducting a training in Bintulu. So this particular hotel, we noticed as we were coming down from a ramp, we had this exact issue. So we met with the manager, we explained, and I told her, this, it'll be good to have a convex mirror and all. And I never thought anything about that. 1 week after that, I saw the mirror being put up, and that was something that made me very happy. Actually, you took my feedback and you tried to do something about that.
And that one also because I think the manager is safety conscious, so I think she take the initiative to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But again, whenever you attend or you conduct a training, I think most of the participants will take it easy because they said safety is not for me, I am very safe, or it will not happen to me. So how you make sure that these guys all get it in their head that you can be a victim if you don't really follow certain safety rules.
See, that's one of the greatest challenges in the training industry. Participants who come, most of them are required to come. They come and tell me, boss, hantar saya lah, so saya datang.
Just cukup syarat.
Just cukup syarat, or for your CPD points or whatever. Sometimes they need to renew their safety passports or anything. So they just come from them. As much as possible, we try to use what we call this. I'm sure you are aware of that. These are hearts and minds. So rather than just saying that these are the rules, you must follow this, you must follow that, I do it in an interactive way where I will always relate it to their personal self, like stories of or knowledges of, this one gentleman, we used to do this motorcycle riding training, So for some time he was not there in the training. Then when he came back to the work, he became an amputee. He lost his left arm, and coincidentally, he's a left-handed guy, like Kidal. And we asked what happened. He said he was working as an operator, and in order to save money for his wedding, he used to do 2 jobs. After his work in the company, he used to go and work in a body knock and spray place.
Oh, okay.
Not enough sleep. So one day, he was riding his motorcycle back home after work, and he can't remember until now what happened. Somehow he lost control of his motorcycle. He crashed into the barriers, and the hand hit his left arm. The metal barriers that they have, he hit, and no choice, the left hand had to be amputated. And he used to come and talk during the trainings. Most of the participants, they will be very emotional. The first thing he woke up, he saw his father. And the father was just crying. He said, "Anak, tangan kau, nak, tangan kau." Then when he looked at his left arm, it was not there anymore. It was amputated. And when he comes and talks, it somehow strikes a chord within the participants. So we use this kind of recordings, video recordings, and we let that message sink in, saying that, hey, if we are not careful, something might happen to you. Because the hazards in the workplace depends on the organization. What hazards we have now may not be the same as working in an industrial area. It's different in construction areas.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think when a trainer train employees, I think they take it like, this guy come here just to do the job and he'll go off. But if you can get somebody else who have experienced tragedy, that will really sink in to the employee or to the participants.
Definitely, because humans we humans are most of the times emotional, isn't it?
Exactly.
When we are able to touch their hearts and say, hey, this could anytime happen to us, and what will happen? Sometimes I will always use myself as an example. I say, you see me now today, everything is fine. Let's assume one day if I die because of an incident or anything happens, what's going to happen to my family? I'm sure most of us, we have somebody or we know somebody who might have lost their life because of some kind of a road incident or workplace incident.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have, if we think about it. But today, are we doing anything to help or assist their family? Now, this is the new year. School is about to start. SPM is going on. Are we going to approaching them and say, hey sis, bro, how are you doing? Do you have enough money to buy, school bags, school stuff and all? Of course, the intention will be there. But most of us, we don't go all out to do that. And today, if I die, that's the same thing that's going to happen to my family.
Yeah.
People will come and say, hey, Siva, I was a good bro. Maybe they give me a wreath or something. And then
Just
that's
for
it.
a day,
After that,
second day.
for the second day, or maybe 1 week,
1 week.
is a bonus. I mean, if somebody remembers me for 1 week, I must have done something good, I guess.
Yeah, when we talk about training, okay, we can't avoid talking about safety culture in the company. Okay, so building a safety culture in the company sounds great, okay, but how we make it happen, especially any specific strategy, and not only to encourage the staff about the safety culture, but basically they want to get involved. They want to show it every day. They want to follow that culture every day. So it's nice to have it on the wall, but
Yes.
how to make sure that people follow.
Now, this involves a major part from the management side.
I mean, when you attend, you conduct training, you can see the safety culture will be part of the objective or part of their strategy, but whether they achieve it or not, I'm not very sure.
Yeah. Of course, we all know that in order to achieve something, we have a tangible goal.
Yeah.
We need to have that goal setting first. So rather than just having this signs and so you do this, you do that, people will just brush it off. They will look at it, they know, but they're not going to do something. We humans need something that gives us something in return. There need to be some kind of so-called, in air quotes, incentive. So what kind of incentive are we going to do? So the same conversation we used to have with many organizations that they want to conduct the training, say, Siva, we're going to have a safety week and all that. What's going to happen? So usually my suggestion would be, get that involvement like what you're saying, okay, for this first week, this is what we're going to do. How many of us are going to have a so-called record? Just update it. And I'm just throwing out some ideas, like as simple as holding the handrails. Did you manage to do it? Then you get somebody else to say, yeah, I saw Siva doing it. You countersign. And after you do that, you submit it either online or something. Then you get a so-called incentive. Incentive could be in many forms. It could be just as simple as
Even
praise.
pat on the back.
A pat on the back, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. You say, hey, Ravin, you have achieved your goal this week. Good for you. Thumbs up. So we could come up with this system where everybody starts to notice, hey, they are being given credit for following these safety protocols. So that will slowly start to build a culture.
Yeah. I think another thing when you talk about safety culture, so it's about certain company encourage their employees to detect or to catch people doing the wrong thing. Okay, do you think that's a good idea?
It's a good idea, intervention.
Yeah, but the guy who did that, or the one that catch somebody doing wrong thing, will be the bad guys lah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
that individual, I mean, we are not going to go as deep as called whistleblowing and all that. I mean, there will be a too extreme a term to use. What I'm saying is stop work or intervene. If let's say, if I'm in an organization, I see an unsafe act, definitely I will stop.
But how to encourage that? Because they'll be the one that say, oh, this is a guy that caused me to get a show cause letter, or this is a guy that caused me to get terminated, So people will stay away from him. And
I don't want to jump over.
Eventually, nobody want to be the, like you said, the whistleblower for wrongdoing in terms of safety. So
now it's interesting you brought that up. When you said when somebody reports, say Siva was driving and not using the seatbelt, the outcome of what is going to happen to me after being pointed out is going to determine whether the other individual is going to highlight it or not. It could be done in an anonymous way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anonymity will be the best because a lot of people want to say something, but not many people are willing to stand the ground and say, yes, I saw you committing an unsafe act, and yes, I'm the one who reported.
Yeah.
So in order to mitigate that, they don't want to get involved.
Don't make the guy who report a hero lah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Said, Siva, I noticed that we had some reports saying that we noticed you driving and you are not wearing a seatbelt. Please, you remember our safety policy and all that. We do it in such a way rather than penalize. Now, this can be a double-edged sword. Let's say they get a lot of violation reports. Then you send them for retraining. Deep inside their mind, they could consider this training as a boot camp, as a punishment.
As a relaxed place as well.
Could be.
Could be.
It could be.
Yeah. Okay.
So, before even going to the unsafe act, if we were to get a little deep into why it happened, why do they commit the unsafe act?
Yeah.
We try to mitigate it rather than
straight away punish that guy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Punishment, I see it as something quite negative.
Okay.
Because punishment is something that we have been trained all our life, and when there's punishment involved, we will rebel. Definitely it will happen.
Especially the younger generation.
The younger generations, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now we'll come to a bit more interesting topic. I mean, all of us drive. Okay. So I think you said you drove taxi. You have managed many type of vehicles on the road. Yeah. So how do you feel about our Malaysian driver? Okay. Any thought about their manners? I mean, you have traveled. So when you compare it, is it everybody is the same everywhere, or we are slightly little bit more offensive or defensive when we get into the car?
You're putting me in a spot, but okay, I'm willing to answer that. Rather than saying feeling, feeling will be linked to emotions. Rather, I would rephrase that and say my observation, mainly about Malaysian drivers, because since we're all Malaysians in general are beautiful and courteous people. Sopan santun, inci tumpang lalu and all that until they get in behind the drivers, behind the wheels. Once they get into the driver's seat, I noticed something really different. All that goes out of the window, all that manners and everything. Sometimes people, we just notice a lot of drivers don't use their indicators, as simple as indicators. And we have people who comment, they say, hey, bodo, you stupid, you don't do this, you don't do that, and all. I used to observe and think, are they really doing that because of lack of IQ? Some organizations, before you are employed as a driver, you need to go through this IQ test and all. But most of the times I notice it's not because of the IQ. Generally, people are not idiots. They know how to operate the vehicle. It's only most of the drivers are lazy and complacent. This is my observation. People are rushing. Most of the time, people are already in a mode where they are auto driving mode. They want to go there first. They don't practice journey management, being there on time. They complain about others. I used to do that. I was like, if somebody is faster than me, they are dangerous. Somebody who's slower than me, they are stupid. Then when they ask me, how do you benchmark? Who's the good driver? Me, myself. Then I came to understand that we are not the benchmark. We are not the yardstick to measure good or bad drivers. People are what they are. In general, my observation is that Malaysian drivers are very emotional. They're very emotional. There could be a lot of underlying issues. It could be because of time constraint, rushing, money, a lot of factors.
But I think the most important thing, like you said, the journey, they don't plan their journey.
Exactly.
Okay? Like all of us, we just get into the car, then suddenly say, oh my God, we are late, or somebody cut in, then we start horning, then that's when the argument started. Okay?
Exactly.
So I think journey planning is very important. It's not only about the driver out there, but I think every employee in the company. Okay? Even if we do training, I think this is one of the elements that we have to tell.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Then when we talk about drivers, okay, we come to the driving school because all these guys have been to a driving school. You know? So, do you think that the training provided in a driving school is sufficient? Do you believe there is maybe other emphasized example like defensive driving in the program?
Okay. Now, this is a very good question. A lot of people ask me after this defensive driving training, they said, hey, we all should learn about this. Driving school, first we need to understand what is the objective, what are the objectives of going to a driving school?
Learn to drive.
Learn to drive. So, in order to learn to drive, we have a minimum requirement of X number of hours. So, in order to achieve the objective is to pass the tests that they have. It could be a theory and also practical within the circuit and on the road driving. And within that limited amount of time, the driving school instructors only have enough time to teach you about these are the steps that you need to do, basic requirements of knowing how to drive and all. They have certain criteria for you to go through and then they pass. So he has to go through the driving school because the instructors there will be able to gauge and say what are the areas that you need to improve on. But then after coming out of driving school is the biggest responsibility where it is upon the driver. Now, driving school or JPJ or Ministry of Transportation, they do have a concise driver's education a book. This is why I brought this book just to highlight to you. It's called the Driver's Education Curriculum. It's about 374 pages where all aspects are already covered. They cover about all the basic road sign.
Who will teach this?
This is the responsibility of the drivers to learn.
Oh yes. Okay.
You're supposed to learn, study, absorb all this, and then only go for the online test.
Okay.
So all the information are there. It's really concise, but I carry this around. I have this with me every now and then. I keep referring to this. So this is something that falls back on the driver. You see, there's a loophole in the system that I see. After getting your driver's license, you are issued with a P license, a probationary driving license, whereby you have to drive for 2 years, where they have a demerit system, point system. And after 2 years, you'll be issued a competent driver's license.
Yes.
Now, I noticed this loophole whereby a lot of drivers, upon getting their P license, assume that they don't drive for 2 years. They use public transportation. And then after 2 years, they can just go over the counter, renew it, and they'll be issued with a competent driver's license. Whereby another driver could have been driving for that whole 2 years, they renew, and both of them hold competent driver's license. And one day when they meet on the road, how are they going to be competent? So there is no way or no methodology so far to gauge whether a driver is really competent and not. So my point of view is that no issues with driving school. Driving schools are doing good. Maybe it's a lack of manpower or a way to assess a driver whether they are really competent after completing the 2 years probationary period.
Maybe the driving school need to change. It's more like driving and defensive school.
Oh yes, a lot of driving schools do that.
Oh yes, okay.
A lot of driving schools.
But then again, a lot of people, even like myself or people that I know, they want to get a driving license as fast as possible.
Exactly.
So you extend another 2 days or 3 days, people start making noise or still will go to some driving school where they can get it much faster.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is when the enforcement or something else need to happen. Okay. Because when you talk about giving a license to 18 years old guys 20 years ago, okay, and giving a license to a 18 years old guy now, okay, I'm not very sure there is a difference, okay, with the number of cars, okay. But then again, when you talk about cars, in terms of the safety features, all, do you think it's more safer now compared to those cars that we use?
A lot of people have asked me. Vehicle safety systems are definitely something that I will vouch for.
Okay.
It is good.
Okay.
Now, at the end of the day, a vehicle could be the safest vehicle in the market. But
then again,
have an incompetent driver inside, the safety aspects are all just thrown out of the window. On the other hand, we could have a highly trained defensive driver or somebody who is really very aware, put them in a vehicle with the basic head restraint and seat belt. They could drive safer because they are able to anticipate. sometimes too much of a safety system causes people to be a little complacent. Now let's talk about these blind spot detection sensors.
Yes.
A lot of vehicles nowadays are equipped with that. So it will inform or alert the driver if there is a vehicle in your blind spot. Now in our training, we actually talk about the actual physical shoulder check or the head turn check to identify. Assume a driver is too complacent and used to having these sensors helping him or her to identify a potential hazard in the blind spot. Assume one day they are forced to drive a vehicle which doesn't have this safety system. They might make a lane change without doing a head turn check, and at that particular moment,
accident.
it could become a major accident.
Like what we discussed earlier, I think regarding office safety. Okay, where do you think we stand do you see any areas that might be falling short or need improvement when we talk about office safety? We always think that outside there is very dangerous.
Exactly.
But even inside this office, it might be dangerous as well.
Exactly.
But people might not take it seriously.
So this is where the awareness campaigns or notices and all comes into play.
Again, like what you said just now, I think the campaign should not just focus outside, it should focus the whole organization.
Exactly.
Okay? From the office boy, the guys or the ladies who work in the office, including those who are driving the vehicle outside. But usually we don't give that much emphasis on office safety.
Exactly. Safety, it's a mindset that comes from within an individual. You see, I always like to link this back to this broken window theory. This was based on the article by a criminologist. I think his name was Wilson or somebody. It was in 1982. Now, what he says is that signs of disorder will lead to more disorder. Now, assuming we apply that was he was a criminologist. If we were to apply that same theory in a workplace, when we notice a small disorder and we don't do something about it, later on, just assume clutter in the workplace or trip hazard, some wires and all that. We don't do something about that. Later on, it will cause people to be complacent, and somewhere along the way an incident happens, then we go wondering, oh my goodness, what happened, what could have been done, and then the safety team comes in and say what could have been done. Could have been done was a lot of things. In order to prevent that in the future, we have to start identifying all small little details, even as simple as walking in the office while looking at your mobile phone. Now I consider that something very dangerous. If I were to do that unconsciously while walking, that means I am not being aware of what is happening around me. We could just knock into a colleague who's carrying a hot cup of coffee. So these are the kinds of things that we should be looking at, every small little details, in order to prevent one big incident in the future.
Okay, fantastic. Just in case any of our audience want to contact you, how can they contact you?
They can contact us by our website is still upcoming. We're still in a development process. You can just Google Drive Smart Asia, and we'll have our contact details over there.
Okay, fantastic. Right. Thank you, Mr. Siva.
Yes.
Nice talking to you. I think we'll be
Thank
a bit
you
more
so much for having me here.
Safety, aware about safety more after this. Right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Right.
Okay.